You can fix a marriage fast with this one thing, and most men get it completely wrong. Once I implemented a simple strategy, my wife gave me more love, appreciation, respect, and also intimacy and sex. And the best part is you can implement this simple strategy in just 10 minutes. Not only will it completely transform your relationship, but it will also bring success into the other areas of your life, like your wealth, your business, your happiness, and your personal self. So if you don't see eye to eye with your wife, you're arguing all the time, or if you're just feeling disconnected, then this strategy will change your life. If you're ready to take your marriage, your business, your life to the next level, then in today's podcast episode, we're going to break down exactly what this one thing is and how you can implement it today. So this one thing comes from 5 separate areas called laser focus. L-A-S-U-R, spelled a little bit differently to how you normally spell it. Laser stands for love, appreciation, support, understanding, and respect. If you're a high performance man, a business owner, a father, a provider, you have an immense amount of pressure and weight on your shoulders. And I guarantee that in your relationship with your partner, there is a lack of all 5 of these areas at certain times. One of the easiest ones that we can go after that fixes a marriage fast, that creates that connection and intimacy, which when your marriage is going well, affects every other area of your life. You make more money, you have more fun, you're less stressed when your relationship is good. One of the most important pieces of these 5 areas is called understanding. When you feel understood by your wife, when you feel like she appreciates you and understands the pressure you feel, how hard you're working, the effort you're putting in, you feel a lot more connected to your partner. When she understands you, she's less likely to get angry and triggered at you over stupid shit, like what you haven't done around the house or finishing work late, even though you're working for them. That understanding is extremely important, but most men struggle to get that from their partner. And on the flip side, we actually struggle to understand our wife. We actually struggle to understand what she's going through. This is one of the biggest causes of divorce, and this is why so many men are stuck in lifeless, sexless, broken marriages, or why so many men end up going through a divorce and having their children raised by another man. This statistic is almost 50%, and it's even higher for business owners and high-performing men. Why? Because there's a disconnect between the understanding of what you're going through and what she's going through. This is exactly what happened in my relationship with Rosie. For years, what I had done was work hard, make money, and provide. We're told as a man that's our job. Put food on the table, buy the house, the car, the things to provide a life of happiness and joy. So my day-to-day began consisting of grinding, getting up before everyone else, going to work all day, dealing with pressure and stress, coming home late where the dinner is cold, and not being present or connected with my family. Now, because I'm doing that day to day, sacrificing my health and happiness for my family, my wife doesn't see or feel what I'm going through each day. She's not there with me in the business. She's not coming to the meetings. She's not hiring and firing. All she sees is the external version of me. She has an identity that she's built of Tony. Your partner has an identity that they've built of you. They have a story as to who you are. And what they typically see is different to what we feel. They see the stress. They see the sedation at the end of the day. They see the lack of communication. They see the inability to get vulnerable and be empathetic towards their situation at home with the kids. So they see the stressed, triggered guy, which is what my wife saw for years. And then I felt like she didn't understand me because we would get into arguments over stupid shit. On the flip side, when we had our daughter, which completely changes everything in your life. You have the moment where you start dating, then you have the moment where you get married, then you have the moment where you have kids, typically in that order. And it gets more and more challenging the longer you're together and the more that you go through. So I would be working and grinding, and my wife would be looking after Talia, our daughter, and she would be struggling to, get up every night, struggling to keep the house in order, struggling to manage her emotions and hormones, all these things that I don't understand about her. And it creates this rift where even though we love each other, even though we appreciate each other, even though we have a great life and I'm successful and I provide for my family, this disconnection begins to occur because we don't understand each other. We don't understand each other's thoughts. We don't understand each other's feelings. We don't understand what's going on internally for both of us, the stories we're creating, and what we're feeling every single day. I guarantee this is what you've gone through in your relationships. You might be going through it right now. If you are going through this, then the second problem that ends up happening for most men is you start getting into arguments. You're not seeing eye to eye because you have different perspectives, different worldviews, different thoughts, different feelings, and different ways of living life. Especially if you're a busy man, a business owner, a provider, your wife's a stay-at-home wife, her life has changed. That disconnect of not understanding each other creates a rift, and that rift gets wider and wider and wider. This is why we get into arguments over stupid shit. It's not actually the problem that we're arguing over, it's the fact that neither of us feel that understanding, which creates love, appreciation, support, and respect. Understanding creates those things. If I understand the pressure my wife feels of being a mother, I'm much more likely to be empathetic towards her. And if she understands the pressure that I feel as a business owner and a provider, she's much more likely to be empathetic towards me instead of snapping at me or nagging me. But most of us don't realize this, it's a blind spot. So I'm gonna give you a strategy right now that completely changed my relationship with Rosie. It turned it around within literally a day. You can do this in 10 minutes. And I wanna share with you how you can implement it in your life. There are 3 phases to this simple system, and they're gonna help you immensely. Phase number 1 begins with you. In the previous podcast episode, I talked about how it's all about taking responsibility. Yes, your partner has a role to play. However, it is on you to shift the relationship. Is that fair? No. But as a man, I want something, I go and take it, and I take the lead. So phase 1 of this system is simply stepping into her shoes. The exercise that I did with my wife, and we did this together, that's gonna be phase 2. But phase 1 is you step into your partner's shoes. Even though you're stressed and you're busy and you have no time and you're providing and you have a lot of shit to deal with, you put that to the side for a second and you try and step into your partner's shoes for a day and a week. And you create a conscious effort here. You can literally do it in 10 minutes after this video. The best way to do this is either to close your eyes and to visualize the entire day for your partner, and then do the exact same for a week. Another way you can do it is you can get a pen and paper out and you can write down the things they go through each day. I personally am a visualizer. I use my imagination. I like to see it. So what I did in this instance was I was pissed off because my wife was getting overwhelmed by her workload. She's got to look after the baby. She's got to keep the house clean and cook. In my mind, the story for so long was, it's not that fucking hard. You don't know what I'm going through. It was victim mentality. I put that to the side and I started visualizing her day. So I imagined her waking up at 3 a.m. and 1 a.m. and the baby's crying. And I imagined what it's like to not want to get out of bed. You're exhausted. You literally can't move. You haven't slept for 9 months and you've got to do it anyway. I imagine the thoughts going through her head, fuck, not again. Oh, this is so annoying. Why doesn't my husband help me? And I imagined her doing that 3 times in a night. So I started at the beginning of the day. Then I imagined her alarm going off at 6 a.m. or the baby crying, which is her alarm. And she's just exhausted. She doesn't want to get out of bed. She's like, fuck, this is so annoying. And then I imagine her getting up and there's shit everywhere. I imagined her having to look after the baby and I don't even say hi to her. I'm just straight off to work. The person she loves, see ya. Maybe give her a quick kiss. I imagine the story of he doesn't have to deal with this. I imagined her creating breakfast and the baby's throwing stuff everywhere. I imagined her seeing me at 10 a.m. come downstairs from my home office and I've got stress on my face, I'm dealing with my work day, and I barely acknowledge her. I barely smile at her. I imagined her getting upset because I come downstairs and I see the house is a mess and I give her a judgmental look. Then I imagined her creating a lovely dinner and working hard all day to keep the house clean, look after our daughter, and ensure that we had healthy food in the fridge and on the table, and I finish late. I haven't told her I'm gonna finish late, and I come downstairs and the dinner's cold and she was looking forward to spending at least 10 minutes with me that day, but because I'm so busy in the business, I didn't make time for that. Now this is fucking difficult to do, because not only do you have to imagine what it's like to go through her day, you also have to imagine what it's like to feel what she feels. That's fucking hard to do if you're not a woman. If you got a dick and balls, you got testosterone running through you, you're a man, you're hard. You've got to put that aside and try and consciously feel what she feels, think what she thinks, and experience a day in the life, a challenging day in the life of all the problems she has, the stresses she has, the negative stories she has, all the things that you struggle to do if you're not a victim, if you're a high performer. You've got to try and step into that and feel those hormones and emotions of your partner or wife. That's fucking difficult to do. However, If you don't make the effort to do this, how can you truly understand your partner? You can't become them, you can't go on their body. This is the next best thing. Now, if you do this exercise properly, you're gonna have a huge amount of empathy and understanding towards your partner. What we often do as men is we say, no one understands me. No one understands the weight of the world on my shoulders. We don't even get vulnerable or share what's going on for us. We get triggered and angry. We think no one's performing at our level. And we don't communicate any of that. We let it bottle up and build up, then we explode like a ticking time bomb. We don't actually try and understand other people. We don't actually put any conscious effort into it. When I did this exercise with my wife, I had a new level of appreciation for how difficult her life must be to her. It's like if you go to the gym and you've got two of us working out. Let's say you and I are working out. We're doing a bench press. And I've got 100 kilos on the bar and you've got 60 kilos on the bar. 220 pounds and 110 pounds if you're in the US. And for both of us, that weight, my weight's heavier, your weight's lighter, but it might be a 10 out of 10. We can both only do one rep of that weight. Even though it's a different weight, it's the same amount of effort for us. Well, it's the exact same in your relationships, but we don't see it that way. Once I was able to step into my wife's shoes, I truly understood her and I was a lot more empathetic to how difficult her life was, even though the story was I could do that easily. It doesn't matter what I could do. I'm not her, she's not me. Now I've created a level of understanding, which is stepping into her shoes. The second phase here is now sharing your lessons with your partner. So what I did was I sat down with Rosie and we did this exercise together, which is going to be phase 3. We'll get into that in a second, extremely important. But I shared with her what I thought went through her day. I said, cool, so I imagine you wake up and all the stuff I shared earlier, you don't want to get out of bed. You're thinking, fuck, this is so annoying. And I explained to her as vividly as I could what she's thinking, the story she's telling herself internally, her worldview, how she's feeling, what she feels when she sees my face stressed, when she's cooking the dinner and feeling alone. I broke down play by play what I perceived to be her day, what I understood about what she goes through. And I shared that with her and I asked her for feedback. What do you think about that? Is that accurate? Is that true? And she was able to then share with me things that were inaccurate about my understanding of her and her situation in her life, and things that were accurate. She was able to add to my worldview, my story about how I understood her. Through this exercise, she felt understood because I verbalized, instead of thinking she knows I understand, letting her read my mind and vice versa, I communicated with her through language what I thought she was going through, and you could see her soften up and go, holy shit, he understands me. He gets it. He understands what I'm going through. As men, we struggle to communicate a lot of the time, which is funny. In our business or our career, we have meetings, we talk about things. We don't do that in our relationships with our partner. We just expect people to know what's going on for us internally and externally. If you can verbalize to them, phase 1 is step into their shoes. Phase 2 is communicate with them what you understand about them and get their feedback. They're now going to give you real-time feedback back to you of if you're actually accurate with your diagnosis or not. It's an extremely powerful exercise, which is asking them what they think and seeing if they feel understood. Ask them, do you feel like I understand you better now? How could I understand you better? What could I think differently, or what more could I do to understand you? My wife has said before, there's a machine you can have like where men feel the pain of a pregnancy. I would never want to fucking do that, but she wanted me to experience that because she wants to really get me to understand what she's going through and what she's feeling each day. The next step of phase 2 is just asking her, I'd love for you to explain to me how you feel and what you think about each day. I'd love to understand you. Walk me through your perspective. So now that you've stepped into her shoes and you've told her what you feel and what you think, ask her to describe to you so you can understand her better, what goes on for her, so that you can know that person. When you know someone deeply, you can connect with them on a whole nother level. Phase 3 of this exercise is then to get her to step into your shoes. If you're going through a breakup or divorce, this is difficult to do, but it is a tool in your tool belt. And if you are currently in a relationship and you're successful in your business and career, but struggling in your relationship, this is an extremely powerful tool. And that tool is to ask her, well, do you want to do the same exercise for me? Why don't you take 10 minutes and try and visualize a day of mine? Now, some partners and wives, maybe you will struggle with this as well, but some partners and wives struggle with this. So what you can do in phase 3 is you can walk your partner through what it feels like to be you. I did this with my wife. I told her, I was like, I wake up and whether I feel like getting out of bed or not, I get out of bed. I feel this immense amount of pressure that I have to provide for you and our daughter. I feel like a piece of shit when I don't follow through. I feel like everyone wants a piece of me. I feel like I'm being pulled in all these different directions. I get up, I have a meeting, I have to fire someone, I have to hire someone, and I walked her through the entire day, typically of my business and what I feel. I walked her through the stories and the fears that I have. I got vulnerable and I said, sometimes I don't know if I'm gonna fucking make it. Sometimes I feel like things are burning to the ground. And through a combination of me explaining my day and my thoughts and my feelings, and through a combination of her taking time by herself to close her eyes and visualize what it feels like to go through Tony's day, the business owner, the husband, father, she was then able to understand me. And when you combine these three phases, phase 1, step into her shoes, close your eyes and visualize her entire day or week. Phase 2, share what you've learnt with her and ask her for her perspective. And then phase 3, ask her if she's willing to understand your day and what you're going through, walk her through it, explain it to her, and then get her to experience it in her own time, closing her eyes, visualizing it. You're gonna create this very fucking deep bond because you're not the same person. Whether your partner is a CEO boss babe or whether she's a stay-at-home mother, she's not gonna feel what you feel and you're not gonna feel what she feels. You're gonna have different thoughts, you're gonna have different emotions, you're gonna have different days, different problems, different weight on the bar. But if you can come together and create that bond by communicating it, you're gonna start to understand each other deeply. You're gonna have more empathy, less judgment, which in turn creates more connection. It creates more love, it creates more appreciation, because if she understands what you're going through, she's gonna appreciate you more. It's a very big difference between her seeing you work hard and her understanding that working hard doesn't just mean grinding and coming home late. It also means the stress and pressure you feel, the feelings of not being good enough sometimes. If she understands that, she's gonna appreciate you way more. If you understand how hard it is for her to sometimes to even think straight because of her hormones, you're gonna be more understanding and appreciative of when she does keep the house clean and more understanding when she doesn't. You're gonna have more empathy towards each other. You're gonna support each other more. My wife now, if I'm like stressed out, she can tell right away. She'll go above and beyond. She'll take the baby up for a bath, even though it's my role in the relationship. I take Talia for baths. She'll take her to the park. We've built this amazing relationship where we feel loved, appreciated, supported, and respected. And it all comes from this idea of understanding. It's one thing, understanding each other. So many relationships have a disconnection of understanding. You don't feel understood, she doesn't feel understood. Once a month, she's been nasty, she's been a bitch. Why is it possible? It's because she's on her fucking period. Her hormones are all over the place. Of course she's gonna be fucking more sensitive. We don't think about that stuff. So when you combine these three phases, you understand each other, you connect on a deeper level. And by the way, when your relationship is better, you make way more money. When you're not stressed about the argument you had, when you're not arguing, when you're having sex, when you're cuddling in the morning, when you're able to talk to each other about the day, you have way less stress, you can think clearer, you can grow a business, you can be a better father. All of this comes down to your relationships, health, and wealth, the three key areas of what it means to be a modern day man. So to recap this entire process into a 10-minute tangible thing you can do. After this video ends, if you want to understand your partner better and if you want to be more understood, take 10 minutes with a pen and paper or close your eyes, set a timer on your watch and just time yourself for 10 minutes and go, what is it like? What do they think? What do they feel? How do they perceive me? How do they see me? What are the problems they go through? What are the things they stress about? What are the things that make them happy? What do they love? What do they hate? Consciously try and understand your partner by stepping into their shoes for 10 minutes. Then share that with them. When the opportunity arises, say, do you mind if I share with you? I was thinking about what you go through each day. It's been all about me for so long. Is it okay if I share with you so I can understand you better? What I believe you go through. Can you share with me what your day feels like? And then phase 3, ask them if they're willing to do the same for you. If they're not, that's okay. Fucking no worries. You don't do things in the expectation of something in return, but typically they will. And explain to them what it's like for you to go through a day. Watch what happens when you do this and when you understand each other. You'll have more sex, you'll have more intimacy, more connection, more love. It will skyrocket. I'm truly at the point in my relationship after 7 years with Rosie where I love her more than I ever have. I connect with her deeper than I ever have. Sure, we have moments, we have arguments, we have disagreements, we have moments of disconnection, but I truly love her more and more every single day and every single year. And that's possible for you too. So you can have the relationships, but also the health and wealth. So I hope you got value from this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up wherever you're watching, 5 stars on podcast platforms. Feel free to drop a comment down below. And we are coming up to episode 69 soon. It's gonna be a juicy, very special one. If you did get value as well and you do wanna fix your marriage, reconnect with your children and find work-life balance, there will be a link down below where you can book a coaching session with our team and we'll build out a custom roadmap for you on how to achieve that. Hope you got value. I'll see you for the next episode.